ATS WTV. Today what we're going to talk about is mental, emotional and spiritual well-being. Hope you guys enjoyed the presentation and I'll speak to you at the end. Okay guys, welcome to the presentation. So again, if we look at the Eletic development hierarchy that I adapted from Alva Mead, we can see mental, emotional and spiritual health is on the foundation of the hierarchy, along with nutrition, supplementation, lifestyle and circadian rhythms that we discussed and covered in the previous episodes. So biochemical dysfunctions behind mental health. So in episode 3 and 4, where we discussed nutrition, supplementation, lifestyle and circadian rhythms, these particular areas have a huge influence on mental, emotional and spiritual health. Mental, emotional and spiritual analysis, biochemical factors behind psychological dysfunction. So when we're trying to look at someone's psychology, I'm going to use the exact same analysis that I used to look at the biochemistry of a person. So we're going to use health questionnaires, review of health history records, functional lab testing, heart rate variability testing, metabolic typing, and the one thing I would add in to the psychological component would be neurofeedback. Influences on mental health, so nutrition, incorrect nutrition requirements for a person's specific biochemistry. Supplementation, the same again, incorrect nutritional requirements for someone's specific biochemistry. Circadian rhythms, again, circadian rhythms that we covered in the last episode controls our hormonal regulation, neurotransmitter regulation and our immune function, as well as many other functions within the body. Environmental toxicity, so here we're talking about things like cosmetics, fluoridated water, mercury fillings in your teeth, things of that nature. Personal relationships that you have in your life, and exercise, so things like severe overtraining. All of these environmental influences can have a huge influence on mental health. Some symptoms of the above influences, when not optimized, which can contribute to poor mental health, are leaky gut, food sensitivities and intolerances, hypoglycemia, protein metabolism dysfunction, neurotransmitter balance dysfunction, essential fatty acid balance dysfunction, heavy metal toxicity, nutritional deficiencies, both macro and micronutrients, and hormonal dysregulation. And these are just some examples. Some resources worth checking out with regards to nutrition, supplementation and circadian rhythms influences on mental health would be Gut and Psychology Syndrome by Dr. Natasha Calman McBride, Nutrition and Mental Illness by Dr. Carl T. Pfeiffer, The Mood Cure by Julia Ross, Primal Body, Primal Mind by Nora Gagodis, Nutrition and Your Mind by George Watson, Metabolic Typing Diet by Bill Walcott, Orthomolecular Medicine for Everyone by Abram Hoffer, Depression Free Naturally by Dr. Joan Matthews Larson, The Molecules of Emotion by Kansas Perth, Lights Out by T.S. Wiley and Brent Formby, The Epipaleo Reset by Dr. Jack Cruz, and The Dark Side of Fat Loss by Sean Croxton. And 2 courses worth checking out will be Functional Diagnostic Nutrition and Functional Medicine University. The final thing we want to talk about is developmental conditioning. So the conscious versus subconscious mind. In Bruce Lipton's book Biology of Belief, Lipton says that the subconscious mind is in control of our life 95% of the time, while the conscious mind is in control 5% of the time. We download the subconscious mind generally in the first 6 to 8 years of our life, and this is called developmental conditioning. This becomes your subconscious belief system for better or worse. So your subconscious mind will dictate your happiness and health depending on the environment in which you grew up in those developmental years. And in Biology of Belief, Lipton talks about conscious parenting, that when you have a child you need to be a very conscious parent with regards to the environment that you set up for your child to develop this subconscious mind in. Joseph Shilton Pearce, who's also authored a lot of books with regards to child development, talks about the model imperative, the need for a parent to be a role model to their child, again being very conscious of the environment that the parent sets up for the child to develop in. Victims of Culture is a statement by Jacques Fresco of the Venus Project, which basically states that people are generally a window of the environment in which they grew up in, and this is why people are the way they are. Enculturation is just a term Joseph Shilton Pearce gives to the same process. When we talk about developmental conditioning, the mother's physical, mental and emotional status has a huge bearing on the health of the child when in utero. And this comes from work that is stated in Lipton and Shilton Pearce's books. So for instance, if the mother is in a stressful, hostile environment, the child's reptilian brain is going to get more blood flow and nutrition. So this child believes that the world is now a stressful and hostile place, and this child now becomes a warrior. They become stuck in the fight-flight mode of their brain. Conversely, if the mother is in a loving, safe environment, the forebrain of the child gets more nutrition and blood flow, and this child will be now a problem solver, an inventor, a lover and a peacemaker, rather than having a warrior type mindset and believing that the world is stressful and hostile. So the prenatal health also of both parents is going to have a huge bearing on the physical, mental and spiritual health of the child. In regards to childbirth, vaginal birth and home births are far superior to C-sections and births in hospitals. A great documentary on this is What Babies Want, which is free on YouTube. What is stated in this documentary is that if childbirth is stressful to both mother and baby, this can have a huge impact on the emotional and overall health and wellness of this child in later life. Again, this goes back to how environmental influences dictate the genetic expression of the organism, and this is a course called epigenetics. So nature always asks two questions any time a mother is pregnant with a child. Does the child have to defend, or can it transcend for more intelligence? Hindbrain versus the forebrain. What we're going to discuss here is de-evolution versus evolution. Again, as I stated in the last slide, nature will always ask two questions whenever a mother is pregnant with a child. Does the child have to go for defense, or can it go for transcendence? Transcendence just means to go above and beyond any constrictions. So again, it's the hindbrain versus the forebrain. And as I also said in the previous slide, if the mother is in a stressful, hostile environment while she's pregnant with a child, the child's reptilian brain is going to get more blood flow and nutrition, as well as the child's extremities, because again, the child perceives the world to be a stressful and hostile place, and that child is becoming a warrior and not a problem solver. And again, as I also said, conversely, if the mother is in a loving, protecting environment, the child is going to get more blood flow and nutrition to the forebrain, and that child is going to be a problem solver, an inventor, a lover and a peacemaker, and not a warrior. De-evolution is a term I heard from Joseph Shilton Pearce, and what he means by this is when the lower structures of the brain, the reptilian brain, the fight-flight brain, uses the higher mammalian brain and neocortex structures of the brain for its service, so to defend. An example of this is rationalizing war and the technology behind it. So basically, the reptilian brain says to the neocortex, I find the people over there very threatening, but I'm not intelligent enough to design weapons and also to defend and rationalize why I designed weapons to harm those people over there. So neocortex, you're very intelligent, so what I want you to do, because I'm in charge of you, again, this is the reptilian brain speaking. So neocortex, what I want you to do is to invent technology to kill people, and then not only that, I want you to rationalize why we did it. Okay, so that is a de-evolutionary process. That is when the lower structures are in charge of the higher structures, and it should be the other way around. Okay, this brain chemistry can be wired in utero. Again, those environmental stressors that can dictate genetic and hormonal expression. This process should be the other way around. The higher structures should bring the lower structures into its service, and this is transcendence, to go above and beyond. Because if we look at evolution, we started off with a reptilian brain, then we got the limbic system, the mammalian brain, and then we got our neocortex and our prefrontal lobes. So the word transcend again means to go above and beyond any constraint and limitation. Some really good resources with regards to developmental conditioning would be Biology of Belief, Bruce Lipton, Biology of Transcendence by Joseph Shilton Pearce, The Death of Religion and the Rebirth of Spirit by Joseph Shilton Pearce, The Heart-Mind Matrix by Joseph Shilton Pearce, and also check out the work of Jacques Fresco, The Venus Project. That's it for today's episode, guys. If you have any questions, leave them on the Facebook page or on the YouTube channel, or you can email me at atswtv@gmail.com. I'll talk to you soon, guys. Take care, be well, peace.